Hi, it's Soul Compass time here again. So if you remember the last video that I did, I gave you the first lesson for free. So the first lesson was all about clearing those expectations. So remember the question of what 3 things do you negotiate yourself out of frequently? So that was lesson 1, was sort of like, did you actually write those things down? Did you even think about them? Did you actually even start anything? Or is it still sat somewhere in a book? Or did you just ignore the email? So this is stuff that's going to really help you to understand your patterns and things that you can change to make things easier for yourself and to create that flow and balance in your life. So that will bring us on to lesson 2. But I just want to recap on lesson 1 first. So what we said is 3 things that you regularly negotiate yourself out of. So firstly, have you written those 3 things down? Have you been working with those 3 things the past couple of days? I think it's about 4 days ago that I sent them email. So have you managed to make preparations to bring more ease to those expectations? And if you have you implemented those preparations now? Have you actually, in the past few days, managed to get a bit of a better pattern, a bit of a routine going so that these expectations are being negotiated in a really healthy, positive way for you? Now, I mean, that might be a bit of an expectation on my part to say that you've gone and done all 3 of them, but is there one perhaps on your list of 3 that you've managed to say, like, yeah, actually, I can do that? And it's okay to pick things that are simple things to change. It will give you a feeling of encouragement and achievement that you've actually been able to do that you've actually been able to make that change. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. And within those changes, within the past few days, has there been anything there where, as you've observed yourself, where you've perhaps slipped back into a negative self-talk, where you've kind of, perhaps the first couple of days you were fine, but then it started to slip a couple of days after? Okay, so this is about getting the balance now between, it's like walking that tightrope of sort of being disciplined with yourself but not being too hard on yourself. So making sure you're getting that balance going on there. So I want you to have a think now with the 3 things that you've picked there. So are any of these habits, I want you to think about the time of them. So it's sort of like, is there an actual person within your life that perhaps is stealing your time? So it's making it more difficult for you to negotiate these things in a healthy, positive way. And if so, and we've talked about this in the last lesson, was how can you say no? So it's basically being able to say no in a positive way, as sort of like, you know, look, I'm really sorry, but we don't have to say sorry. It's just sort of like, right now, I'm not actually on board or available for that. And it might be that you just don't want to, and that's absolutely fine. Just be honest, be truthful, because you'll feel like a weight's been lifted off your shoulders if you're just honest and truthful about what you can actually achieve. Where you're looking at your diary and you're thinking, oh, I could squeeze that in there, but you know in the back of your mind, later on in the week, you're going to cancel that because it's taken up too much of your time. It's squeezed too much into your agenda, or something's going to happen and you're going to forget a certain appointment or let somebody down or something like that. So that's what we're looking at on here. So let's move over from, move on from the clearing expectations. So if you haven't done that already, then take those 3 things and try and get yourself into your preparations now, so that you are really preparing to negotiate those expectations. And then you're looking at observing yourself throughout to make sure that you are on board and you are walking that tightrope between self-care and discipline. Yeah. So we're going to look now, walking the middle path. So it brings us right into that now. So we're talking about extremes. So with extremes, we want to try and not be like one end of the spectrum and the other end of the spectrum. We want to try and find some middle ground, so getting that balance. So I'm going to give you an example on this one. So an example on this one would be eating a chocolate bar, for instance. Okay, so if you enjoy chocolate, and I'm sure you do, I do. So I will actually give you an example of, like, when I was younger, I would eat all the chocolate, all the sweets, all the things like that, more so than proper food. It created an imbalance for me. But because I'd got quite an active lifestyle, it didn't really bother me too much because I could keep my weight down or whatever, but my skin would really show it. And my energy levels would definitely show it because I wouldn't really have much energy. And I'd get a lot of brain fog and things like this. And you later realise actually the other imbalances that it's created within your body, within your mind, and emotionally as well. So it has like quite a knock-on effect with everything, not just one aspect. So if you think, okay, I enjoy chocolate, having 5 chocolate bars a day, is that going to do me any good? No. It's going to make you feel sluggish. It's going to just make your teeth rot. It's going to make you feel really horrible. And you're probably not going to eat proper food if you're doing that as well. But if you ate a chocolate bar maybe once a week, so if you said on a treat like, oh, on Friday night I'm going to have a dairy milk or something like that. Yeah, I'm going to allow myself to have a little bit of what I fancy. You could do this as well, say with a glass of wine perhaps. Rather than having a glass every single night, have a drink maybe on a Thursday and a Friday night instead, or a Friday and a Saturday night, and don't drink for the rest of the week. So it's kind of allowing yourself to have what you want, but not overdoing it, not having it too often, too much. It's getting a balance and a bit of control as well. So it's allowing you to feel like you are actually in control of these things, and you can look forward to it too. So it's something then where you're sort of like, oh, I know I've worked hard all week and I'm really looking forward to this. So the problem isn't the intake, it's the root cause of the imbalance as to why we crave those things in the first place. Now, a lot of that can come from things that have happened to us in the past, especially where sweet things, I always relate sort of like the sweet things with sort of like where are we not getting enough intimacy, perhaps, you know, communication, not just on a sexual level, things like that, or just, yeah, where is that within you? Is there enough sweetness in your life, or are you overcompensating for that through having the sweet things, tasting the sweet things, because it's your senses that you're trying to sort of get worked up over this, isn't it? So the balance there is found in the middle, just the right amount. And that you can apply to absolutely everything. So like the right amount of sleep, because if you think if you're going to lie in bed for 12 hours a day, is that actually going to do you any good? Or would it be better to do maybe more like 8 to 10 hours a day? And are you getting into a pattern perhaps of falling asleep on the sofa at the end of the night, and then you can't really sleep very well when you do try to go to bed? Are you being active enough in the day so that you actually feel like you want to go into a sleep? So these are all things that help us to really get within ourselves, connect with not just the physical, but the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual side of ourselves as well. You could say as well with that is meditation. Like some people tell me that they meditate every night. They do 15-20 minutes of meditation every night. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, okay, that's great. And especially if you're using it for, if you've got quite an intense job, it can help you to relax. But what you might find as well is that maybe you're making yourself do that because you think you should, because you think that makes you a spiritual person. When really, is there a purpose to that? What are you doing when you're meditating? Because if you're just sitting there working with breathing, but not actually sort of, or you're expecting to go on a journey every time, or is there really a need or a purpose for it? So you can get an imbalance in trying to do things that you feel are healthy for you. Same with yoga, you know, you could spend 2 hours every night doing yoga. You might start to find that your hips start to ache a little bit, or your shoulders, or it just takes up a lot of your time away from other things that you might want to do, like spending time with your family, or doing another hobby, or getting housework done, or anything like that. So can you see where I'm going with that, with striving for balance? So watch where your extremes are. So this part of the lesson then is sort of like with those 3 things that you've chosen, that you normally negotiate yourself out of. You've made your preparations now. So now, where can you find three things that you can create balance with? So think about three things that you are maybe a bit of excessive with or lack. So it doesn't have to be excessive. So for instance, I've used examples that are more excessive, but where is there lack? So say for instance, if you're feeling sluggish or you feel like you've put weight on or anything like that, could there be perhaps a potential for you to drink more water or to maybe incorporate some exercise? So looking at the extremes, so sort of like if you're completely sedentary and you don't do anything, then maybe going for a walk around the block 3 times a week is a good balance for you, and it will bring change for you. And that might actually incorporate with one of the expectations that you're negotiating yourself out of. Yeah, do you see where I'm going with this? So you can weave them all in together. So I want you to really try and focus on that now, and we're going to work with the 3 things again. So 3 extremes this time. What are your 3 extremes that are affecting balance within your life? So you can go with the examples that I've given if they resonate with you, or maybe come up with some of your own and see where they go. Okay. Now, what I'm going to offer with this is there's 2 more lessons after this one. And I've actually decided I'm going to give all 4 of these lessons out to you to help you. But with them, if you would like to go deeper into this and be more personalised with it, I am going to be arranging some calls. So if you would like to jump onto a Zoom video call with me to go through these in more depth and to help you on a deeper level, then please do get in touch. Okay, enjoy the rest of your weekend.